Well, hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our live webinar on creating an authentic work-life balance. My name is Brooke Zachary, and I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at CoreFact. I'm joined today by Lauren Brollier Newton. Just a little about Lauren before we turn it over to her. She's an award-winning inspirational speaker and transformational coach. As the founder and CEO of Soul Savvy, she works with organizations and individuals, helping them build their dreams, accelerate their results, and create richer, more fulfilling lives. Lauren has spent over a decade as an educator and coach. Out of 3,500 eligible coaches, she won the Outstanding Impact Award in 2021 from Brave Thinking Institute, which recognized her impact on clients and reach in the industry. She lives in Northwest Wyoming with her husband, Cameron, and their 3 cats. So welcome, Lauren.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me and for the introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you, and I'm thanking CoreFact and just everyone here for taking the time to invest an hour in the most important asset that I believe you'll ever own, and that's you and your thinking and what you want to create. And so welcome on in and let's get started here. So I want this to be something that you do an hour here. You actually have tangible, practical things you can take with you and help yourself with our topic today. So that is authentic work-life balance. And as Brooke said, I'm Lauren, and I love helping people really create a life by design and be successful in all areas because you are a whole person. So that's what we're up to today. So here's what I would love for you to type in the chat if you're willing. So if you had authentic work-life balance, and if you knew how to more successfully navigate circumstances with ease, what would change in your life? Because I don't believe anybody would show up for this if you didn't think something positive would change for you if you had more work-life balance and knew how to navigate things with a little more ease. So go ahead and type it in the chat. What would change? Happiness, peace, more vacation time. Oh, TJ, I have a story for you today about that. Health, value, more peace, less conflict. Yes. Yes. Reduce stress, effortless living, everything would change. Yes. Feel organized. Absolutely. What I find, I've personally mentored more than 300 clients now, many of professionals in all industry, but many real estate agents, many accountants, lawyers. And what I find when I ask, what does everyone want? To feel more free and to feel more fulfilled. And that leads to happiness and all sorts of things. So yay, welcome on into this. So I want to celebrate you truly, because what I know is it's easy to register for something, a free webinar or something. It's harder to show up, especially when the world is pulling at you and clients are calling you. And I want to celebrate you for a willingness to invest in something that's not just super tangible business training, like many of us are used to, but to invest in something that's a little more mindset oriented and a little bit more whole person oriented. It's actually harder to invest your time in that because we're kind of trained that the productivity stuff is going to help move us faster. I have some stories for you to kind of flip the script on that today and really help you to notice that the more you cultivate you, the easier and quicker your results will come. So well done being on something like this. Most people will live and die in a whole lifetime and never opt themselves into creating a dream for their life or to be willing to do something like this where it is more mindset based. So good job. So I'm the founder of a company called Soul Savvy, and you can see by the title, Soul. Some people would think of that as a spiritual word, but really what Soul Savvy means to me is that there can be a yes and in life, that you can be very heart-centered, soulful, authentic, and have really savvy results, millions of dollars in sales, all the tangible things that we're looking for. So I don't think it has to be an either or. I don't think you have to leave your soul at the door when you go to work. And I don't think you have to feel bad about being successful. I think you can have a yes and on all of it. So our mission at Soul Savvy is to inspire people around the globe to discover the depth of their unique gifts and talents, which only they can deliver to the world. You're unique. Only you can deliver it in your way. And we provide empowering practical tools so you can achieve your goals, dreams, and desires and really live that free and fulfilled life. So my promise to you is an hour is a short time on what is quite a hefty topic, authentic work-life balance and how to navigate some of the current things that are going on in the market with more ease. So that's a tall order in an hour. But what I promise you, if I've put everything in here in an hour that I can put in here, and my hope is that you're willing to stay present, stay active with me, and really have a willingness to go and apply this. Because the truth is, This can just be a lovely webinar, or it can really be impactful for your life, but only if you have a willingness to try some of the things out we talk about today. And then for many of you, by the end of this, it's going to be a juicy topic and conversation. Many of you will say, I don't want this conversation to end here. I think this is important for me. So if that's you, we have something special for you in terms of a gift. And I also will stay past the hour to answer questions and keep the conversation going with you if you have questions for me. So here's what we're going to do together. Number one, what does that even mean, authentic work-life balance? What does that mean, and how do I find it? This is not a cookie cutter webinar here. This is really that there is no one size fits all when it comes to work-life balance. For me, I love the work I do in the world. When I'm not working, I love reading about it. I love studying. So for me, feeling really fulfilled and balanced might look like 80% profession and 20% fun. But for you, it might be opposite. You might say, I'd love to work 20% of the time and play golf 80% of the time. So no one can tell you what balance is but you. But it's important to know what authentic is for you and then do everything you can to cultivate that. And we'll talk about, I'm going to teach you how to know in a moment. I want you to be able to navigate whatever this current market is that we're in with ease. And I'm going to tell you stories about other people in the real estate industry that have been able to do this through the pandemic and other places. And I'm going to teach you 2 really tangible tools that are going to help you with this as you move forward. And then at the end, I'm going to teach you the results formula. And I want you to know, we're talking about a whole person in this workshop. It's not just about real estate. It's not just about marketing. So when I teach you this results formula, I want you to know this can apply to whatever area in your life most matters to you right now. So that's where we're headed. So you're in the right place. This is for you if you're feeling a little bit scared of the current market conditions and what that might mean for your business. I was working with one of my real estate agent clients and friends yesterday, and he's like, it's really challenging in real estate right now. If you're having any of that thinking or feeling, this is going to be really great for you to take these tools and apply it. If you're feeling at all burnt out, overwhelmed, or stressed, this is going to be really great. This is for you if you have goals and dreams and you don't want the current conditions or whatever people are talking about to influence the momentum that you want to build. So if you're one of those people who's like, let's keep achieving, let's use this as an opportunity, this is going to be great. And then finally, for anyone here who wants full spectrum wealth. And what I mean by that is every area of your life is happier and successful, whether it's your wellness, your relationships, good tips for you here. So that's the real 4 circumstances that I had in mind when I wrote this just for you. So let's get started. Let's dive in. What is authentic work-life balance? And how do you find it? So as I said, no one can know for you what's going to be balanced for you. And oftentimes what happens is we know our life is out of balance because we start to feel stressed or overworked or underpaid or any of those kind of things. So if you went to Google when you're feeling stressed or burnout and you Googled, how do I eliminate stress? How do I eliminate burnout? The first things that are going to come up, I can tell you the top 4. They're going to say, get more sleep, walk in nature, take a bath, light a candle, meditate. Those are the top things that are going to come up. I am an advocate of all those things. I believe you should get good sleep and walk in nature and meditate and do all those lovely things. But when what we're doing in our life doesn't feel completely authentic to us, or we're not listening to some of our longings and we start to get that burnout feeling and life is out of balance, I promise you, no matter how many candles you light or how many baths you take or how many walks in nature that you take, it's like putting a Band-Aid on it. It's like taking a big gaping wound and putting a Band-Aid on it. And it's okay for a couple minutes. And then it just goes back to the same thing. And if you, like me, have ever been the person that's been stressed out or overworked or any of that stuff, and you try to do the things that Google suggests, like take a bath or walk in nature, and it doesn't work for you, then you feel worse than how you started, because now the thing that the gurus are telling you to do isn't working. And that's because that is actually something to do once you find the balance to keep yourself healthy, but you have to find what balance is going to be for you first. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. So what I want to do is I want us to notice that you're creating results in your life right now as we're sitting here. A lot of times when people think about when they're working on their goals, they're achieving or they're manifesting. And then when they're not, it's just kind of like life stays the same. But the truth is you can't stop the creation of results. So what I mean by that is if you get to the top of the stairs when you're walking, I don't know, up your apartment complex staircase and you're out of breath, you created that result somehow of being out of breath. Maybe it's from not exercising, maybe it's from not moving enough, but you were creating whether that result, whether you were intentional about it or not. And so we have results that I break down into 4 key areas. And this is what I would say is where the balance comes in. So let me go over the areas with you, and then we'll go a little bit deeper on this. So we are all creating results right now in the area of wellness. And when I say wellness, I don't just mean physical wellness. I mean, like, do you sleep well? Do you wake up actually wanting to do something productive? Wellness meaning spiritual, physical, mentally well. So maybe you're someone who this area goes on the back burner because you're focused on work. Or maybe you're someone who's the most thriving in this area. But I want you to notice that you're creating a result in this area right now as we speak. And then notice that you also create results in the category of life that I would call love and relationships. This is your relationship with your colleagues, your clients, your relationship with your significant other, or perhaps you're a person who longs to be with a significant other, or you've been single for a long time, or you know the relationship needs to come to an end. I know for some of you who are thinking, what does this have to do with work-life balance? Well, anytime, especially either of these 2 categories are out of kilter, it's easy to think we can compartmentalize ourselves. Okay, but now I'm just at work. But the truth is you're one being. So this starts to get louder and louder and have an impact on everything. The next area would be your work in the world. And you have results in that right now. You might be someone who loves going to work, loves your team, or you might be someone who's ready to make a leap into something different or super frustrated with your results. But you have a result there. And then you also have a result in this category that I call freedom. So freedom is freedom to go where you want to go, give what you want to give, live how you want to live and where you want to live. And you don't have to ask your calendar or your bank account for permission. That is freedom. So I'm going to invite you to ask yourself 2 questions, because unless we do this work here, I'm not going to know how to help you to achieve that balance. So as uncomfortable as this part can sometimes be, I want you to really let yourself playful out here, because this is what's going to be the answer to our balance. Okay. So creating results in 4 areas. The first question I want you to ask yourself when you look at these areas is, what am I longing for? When I think about wellness, when I think about relationships, when I think about work, when I think about travel and time and money freedom, what am I longing for? Go ahead and jot a couple notes about that. Just for yourself. Nobody's going to see this but you. And then the second question is, what is my discontent? What I mean about discontent is there might be some of these areas where you feel frustrated or unhappy in any of these 4 areas. So before I started this work as a coach and entrepreneur, I was a school teacher, and I never knew that I could actually look at what I was longing for and look at my discontent and do something with it, because it can be scary to look. As soon as you look, you think you're going to have to change it. So my pattern was I would shove things down. No, in that time, I would say, no, my marriage really is okay. No, I really am satisfied being a teacher. And you just kind of push it away, because somewhere a well-meaning person, whether it was a parent, a teacher, a boss, whatever it is, the media, said to you, you should just be grateful for what you have. And for many of us, that got so deep inside of us that we didn't know that when something was whispering at us that we weren't happy with, that we could actually change it and that it was okay to change it. So it's very important to take a look at the longing and take a look at the discontent, because in my experience of all these years of coaching and in my own life is that this is only going to get louder. The longing, the discontent, it just keeps symptomizing until you get sick, or now you have all this relationship turmoil, or something's gone wrong. It's going to appear somehow. So you can either decide, I guess this is a Texas term, to take the bull by the horns or to let the bull run you over. That's kind of what this part is. So now that you've had the courage to take a look at this, what am I longing for? What is my discontent? I'm going to ask you 2 questions for motivation purposes. Now, when I ask you these questions, I know it's going to seem a little dark and it's going to seem a little heavy, and it's not going to seem inspirational at first, but I promise you it really is. In these areas where there's something that you're unhappy with or something that you're longing for, let's say you've had a lot of turmoil in your personal relationship with a spouse or a loved one, or your kids aren't talking to you, or you've got diabetes, and if you don't change it, they keep telling you got to eat better, or you keep setting goals at work and you're not reaching those goals, whatever it is. First question, and stick with me on this. How long has it been there? That longing or that discontent, how long? Just write this down for yourself. You don't have to share with me. Too long. Yeah, I get that. The first time I did this activity, Stephanie, I said to myself, forever. That's the word I wrote in one of these areas for me. Second question, and this is important. This is maybe the most motivational question you can ask yourself. What is it costing you? And I don't mean just money, although it could cost you money. You get sick, it gets worse. I mean, sometimes it does, but I'm talking about a personal cost, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. What is it costing me to have this longing, have this discontent, and not do anything with it? Happiness, yeah. Time, yes. Yeah. So why is this motivational? Well, if I just keep shoving it down like I did in my past life, shoving it down and ignoring it, and that cost keeps building, when you're aware of the cost, you're more motivated to change it. Because in the moment, it just seems like, oh, I'll think about that later. And it doesn't seem like there's a cost unless you put your mind on, wait a second, there's a cost to me keeping going like this. There's a cost to me staying stuck. The other day I was taking a training from another coach, and I was just filling up my own cup. And I realized, and maybe this will resonate with some of you, I have a team, I have 5 employees and myself, and I've fooled myself into thinking I'm delegating. I'm a good delegator. I'm delegating as I keep my fingers in every single project, right? And for those of you who have virtual assistants and different things, it's like, oh yeah, I'm delegating, but I wasn't really. And when I became aware of this, I went right to this question for myself, because there's a part of me that doesn't want to change it. There's a part of me that's like, no, I'm good. What is it costing me? Well, it's costing me more time. It's costing me stress. And it's costing me, how am I ever going to keep helping people and growing a company if I have to do everything? Now, see the move I made, the mental move I made there. Now that I know what it's costing me, now I'm a little bit more willing to change it, because I had to look myself straight in the eye on that one. So even though those questions can seem dark, they can be really motivating. Now, what does this have to do with work-life balance? This is the way that you personally discover what's out of balance for you. And then now that we know it, we get to go and change it. So I want to tell you a story, and this is for some of you. I think it was I can't remember if it was TJ or JR. I'm getting my words confused, but one of you typed in the chat that, TJ, yeah, if you solved this, you'd have more vacation time. So this is the perfect story for you. This is my good friend and client, Alan Canis. He is a real estate agent in Northern California. And when we met, he was already super, super successful. I mean, I think the year we met, which was the end of 2019, he had done something like $43 million in sales. So super successful. And yet it was costing him. And what it was costing him is kind of like I just shared of my personal story. He felt like he had to work round the clock to hold on to that success. And it was starting to cost him. One, he had just adopted his daughter, Casey, a couple years before, and really had this dream of being able to volunteer at her school and have this spaciousness and everything. And he wasn't doing that. And that started to wear on him. The second thing was that he was having migraines. And for any of you who have had migraines, you'll understand the pain of this every day. Every day. And he told me when we first started working together, Lauren, it's kind of scary. I drive from point A to point B, and sometimes my mind feels so cloudy, and then I got my migraines and everything, that I don't know how I got from point A to point B. And then the third thing was he wanted to go on vacations, but he felt like he was holding up his whole team, his whole office. He couldn't take a vacation. So he had plenty of money. He drives a Bentley. He had plenty of money to go on vacation, but he couldn't get himself to do it because he felt like the whole business was going to collapse if he did it. So when we met at a workshop just like this, very similar in 2019, he said, I really think I need your help. And I said, great. And we started to work together, and we still work together to this day. But the thing that I said to Alan, and I'm going to say it to all of you here when it comes to balance, is sometimes that we can get fooled that we think if we take care of other parts of our life, the business is going to collapse. If we take care and go to volunteer at the kids' school, that other things in our life are going to fall apart. And what I shared with Alan over and over again is, what if you could work half and make double? And that sounded crazy to him at first, but I'm just saying, but what if you could? Let's keep a corner of our mind open to the possibility. Alan and I started working together in January of 2020. We had no idea what was going to happen with the pandemic. But here's the crazy thing. As he got rid of his migraines and he started to take care of himself, and he started to volunteer, and he bought his vacation home in Tahoe, and I actually made him go there. What he discovered was crazy. The more he got in balance in all four quadrants, the more creative he got, and the more ideas he got, and the more he felt like he could help his clients. And his business went in 2020 pandemic, went from 43 million to 70 million. So I hope that that story turns on its head any idea you have about, if I take care of myself, the business is going to collapse. Or if I go and work on my relationship with my wife or go on vacation, the business is going to collapse. Only if you say so. But in this universe of possibilities, there has to be a way for you to have more and not have to work as hard for it. And those are some of the things that I really want to help you with today, because it is possible. But you just have to know the right thinking strategy and the right strategies to do it. So now that I know all this longing and discontent that I'm facing, what do I do with it? And the key is, I like to call longing and discontent soul instructions. And if that's too woo-woo for you, if that's just a little too like spiritual for you, think of it like this: instructions for change. Instructions for what to change. Because longings and discontents don't go away. They just symptomize and get louder. So when we know what they are, now we transform them. And when you transform them, that's when you feel super successful, happy, and freer, and all that stuff that we desire as humans. I think all of us desire some level of that. So the answer to transform it is vision. And I want you to, if that feels a little too easy, or like I said, a little too woo-woo, I really want to break down the psychology behind why it's so important to have a vision for what life would look like if you were in love with it, if it was balanced. There's a great quote that says, "No wind is favorable to a sailor who doesn't know what direction she's going." You can have all the right circumstances. The wind can be on your side, but if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter. So a personal vision, not just a business vision, but a personal vision, is one of the things I want to help you with today. And that's where I started with Alan. What would it look like if it were working? And so let me give you some psychology, some data around vision. A vision is something beyond a goal. So let me break this down. You might say, I want to do 50 million in revenue in my real estate business so I can bring in, $1 million in personal income. Okay, great goal. But nobody wants to just have $1 million in their pocket to just put it in a room and lay in a pile of money. There's something that you think would happen in your life if you had that. Because I promise if it's $1 million, if it's losing 10 pounds, if it's whatever it is, that's not going to be big enough to get you out of bed in the morning. So it's beyond a goal. You know, I could stand to lose 10 pounds, but there's nothing motivating me about it. But when I start thinking about walking in these beautiful hills here in Wyoming and not being out of breath, and I start thinking about fitting into certain clothes or being able, I usually do 2 full day workshops and I stand on stage for between 8 and 10 hours a day, stronger in that. Well, now it's taken me beyond the goal to what my life could look like if I had achieved that goal. The second thing is your mind thinks in pictures and it accepts anything that's vividly imagined. When I say your mind, I'm really talking about your subconscious mind. But so let's do it this way. Think about right now, think about your refrigerator. And think about the bed you sleep in most often. And think about your front door. When I said that, you didn't see the word BED or DOOR. You saw the picture of it in your mind. And so a vision helps you work with the way your brain works. Now, if you're someone who's thinking, I don't have a good imagination, I'm not a visionary, I'm not a creative, I promise you, you have a really good imagination. Because if you've been thinking about anything that could go wrong if the market turns down, if we go into a recession, if you've thought about all the things that could go wrong in a recession, you have a great imagination. You're just using it to terrorize yourself rather than help yourself. So that's what we're going to do with vision. We're going to put our mind focused on something that we do want to create. So your subconscious mind, this could be a scary fact. I'm just going to put it out there. It could be a scary fact, but I'm going to tell you how to work with it. Your subconscious mind is responsible for 94% of your behavior. Most behavior, about 94%, is habitual. And it's your subconscious mind that's responsible for it. So whether you pick up the phone and make that call, or you call other agents for an open house, or you get your team motivated, whatever it is, most of that is being controlled by everything that you've vividly imagined, every thought you've thought over the course of your life, everything your teachers told you, all of it lives in your subconscious, and that's what's controlling most of your behavior. So sometimes we have really good things hiding in there. Sometimes we have some scary things hiding in there. So that is why we want to start putting things in our mind that make that behavior positive and impactful, and vision will do that. Finally, the reason this helps for balance and also for navigating the stress of, a down economy or whatever the circumstance might be, is the vision answers the longing. Now you know what it would look like if that was dissolved and what balance does look like, and you can start working toward it. And it will help you dissolve your discontent. It's also going to give you something to focus on rather than all the news and the talk about how it's so hard and challenging and no one's going to be buying houses. And that'll keep you up at night. This will give you something different to focus on so you can start working towards something, whatever's going on outside of you. So here's how you write a vision. And I'm going to tell you as much as I can about this, but here's how you do it. It's October 2025. Why do I put it out in the future? Because it gets you beyond today's circumstance. It's October 2025, and I am so happy and grateful now that. I put it in the present tense so that I could really presence if life were working and I was in love with it and it felt balanced and I was creative and I was successful, what would it look like? In all the areas, in wellness, in relationships, in work, and in that freedom category of travel and living where you want to live. So when you write this in a moment, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to journal this. If you don't like journaling, call it writing. Okay. It's October 2025. And I'm so happy and grateful now that. Don't write by your current life. Don't write by what you think you can do in 3 years or what you think you should write down. Just write what you would really love. If you could just wave a magic wand, what would you love in these 4 areas? So go ahead and let's do about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to journal here. And I'll give you some music to journal by so you have something there. don't forget to use, the different areas of your life. What's happening in your relationships if you were in love with them? What's happening with your health? What's happening with the type of clients you work with? What kind of sales are you doing now? Where are you traveling to? Awesome. So we're going to just write TBC, to be continued. Because this is just the tip of the iceberg of really creating a vision that's going to motivate you and get you out of bed in the morning. But I'll just share briefly, when I wrote my very first vision in this way, I had just gotten divorced. I was completely broke. In fact, I had amassed a ton of credit card debt. I had student loans. Now I'm getting this divorce. So I moved back in with my parents as a 30-something. And the reason I got divorced is because my husband had been living a double life. I was unaware for 7 years. So why do I have a willingness to share that here? Well, since then, let me share with you what I wrote in my vision. In my vision, 1 month after I found out about my husband's double life, I started to write down that I had a passion for helping people. And I wanted to do that in a more global way than teaching elementary school. And I had a passion for helping people. And I wanted to become the CEO of my own company. And I wanted to help lots of people and generate income and fall in love again. And I share that with you because if I just looked at my circumstances, that seemed kind of crazy. If you just looked at this broke divorced school teacher, literally living in her mom's basement, that was the area of the house that I was given after my divorce. You would look at that and go, well, how's that going to happen? But I wrote the vision anyway, because my idea was, well, I already hit rock bottom. How far lower can I go? I might as well just vision. And so I really started to focus on what I wanted to create in the vision. Since then, I've mentored hundreds of people, spoken to tens of thousands more, really made an impact. In 4 short years, I think we've done like $2.2 something million in revenue, like insane. And so that's why I am living proof that no matter what the circumstances look like right now, if you have a willingness to look at what would it look like if it were working, now you have a focus. The way I created all those icky results in the past was I didn't know I could write out exactly what I wanted to create. I didn't know I could go after it. And I also kept shoving down that longing and discontent. If I would have listened to it and done something with it with a vision, I would have kept going. Now, you don't have to be at rock bottom like me. It could just be like, oh, my virtual assistant doesn't seem like they're working out. All right, well, if you did have a virtual assistant that was working, what would all those qualities be? Then you have something to focus on. So I want to tell you a case study, because some of you here, you're here because you're part of either real estate marketing, you run a team, you're an office manager, you're a realtor. So you're here in that industry. But many times people are wanting to do different things. You want to become a broker, or you want to completely get out of this industry, or you want to go straight into marketing, or you want to change something. And the reason why a lot of people don't vision or take a look at it is because they're scared of that, because change can be really scary. So I wanted to give you, if you're someone who's thinking of transitioning or retiring or building your business bigger or selling it or some sort of transition, I wanted to give you an example of that with vision. This is Kathy. Kathy was the CFO of a wonderful real estate company, liked the people she worked with, liked the company, but was really sick of the financials that she had been doing for decades. Sick of accounting, sick of numbers, sick of spreadsheets. She was just burnt out and she felt done with it. But that had been what she'd done her whole life. And so her husband had just retired, which made it feel like she couldn't vision even more, because now she's the one making the money. And so when she wrote the vision originally, she kept trying to force herself to vision for the position that she was already in. And you can guess that it never felt motivating for her, because that's not really where she wanted to be. So when Kathy and I worked together on this, she could see, I need some help with this. And we started to work together, and she had no idea what she wanted to do. And I want to give you full permission that if you're making a transition, and this includes in your relationships, should I stay or should I go? Do I want to fall in love again or not? When you're making any kind of decisions about your vision, make it okay for a while to be in a discovery phase. You might not know, but that doesn't mean you can't start with what you do know. And what Kathy did know is she wanted to feel passionate about the work that she did. So we just started exploring. What about this? What about that? I started working with Kathy in November of 2021. So it's not even been a year. Kathy lovingly left that great company. She became a travel agent of all things. And now Kathy, just in, I think the last 2 months of summer, generated $40,000 in sales in that travel agent business in her first year. So I could tell you more details. If I had more time, we could unpack the whole thing, but I just wanted to share an example of someone who didn't know. I didn't know either when I started, but was able to create something really great by just starting looking at what she did know. And what she did know is I want to feel passionate about what I do. So as we explored options, she could feel what matches that, what doesn't. All right. So without an authentic vision, let's get into the part of this market, the real estate market. Navigating the market is not going to feel worth it if you don't know the payoff of really leaning into this authentic vision and that balance that you're looking for. That's what's going to make it worth it to you. If it's lukewarm, well, of course, you're not going to try to navigate the circumstances. You're not going to have anything motivating you to do so. So I want to tell you a story about navigating a tough market, a really tough market and a change in the industry. So there was a barbershop in the Midwest in a farm town. Now I live in Northwest Wyoming, just outside of Yellowstone. I live 15 minutes outside of town. So if I want to go to the grocery store, there's only really one, it's Walmart, because I live in a small town. You got to go 15-minute drive. And this town where the barbershop was very similar. Midwest farming town. So everybody's working out on their farms. And then at night or on the weekends, they drive into town and they go grocery shopping or they get their hair done or whatever. So the barbershop really was a center, not just for getting your hair cut, but people, you know, they gossip and they talk about what's going on in the town. It was a really important part of the town. But then a company called Supercuts moved in a couple doors down from the traditional barbershop. So the owner of the barbershop, who this barbershop had been in his family for 3 generations, is facing this big corporation, Supercuts, couple doors down from him. And there was a big sign on the Supercuts front that said $6 haircuts, just $6 and you can come in and get a haircut. And as Supercuts business started to grow, this guy's business started to go in the tank. And so he was racking his brain, like, how am I going to be able to compete with $6 haircuts? There's no way. So this guy had a son who was in business school, and the kid come home from college and he said to his son, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep this business open. I mean, I've run the numbers every which way, and there's just no way we can compete with $6 haircuts. And the son said, well, Dad, I mean, in business school, I've been learning there's always a way to solve problems. And the dad said, yeah, I've got a way to solve it. I'm going to close the barbershop. And the kid's like, no, let's just brainstorm. There has to be a way to keep this place open. So they started to write down all the ideas that they got for keeping this place open. And one idea just jumped off the page at them. They wrote it down. They're like, ooh, that's a good idea. So the kid goes back to school and the dad works the whole month of January on really, implementing here. So the kid calls him a couple of weeks later and says, so what'd you do? Did you implement the idea? How's it going? And the dad said, not only am I going to be able to keep this place open, but I've been looking at all our reports for like the last 10 years. This is the best January we've ever had in the history of the whole barbershop, as far back as I have records for. And you know what the idea they picked was? They put a big sign on their door that said, we fix $6 haircuts. I just love that. In this market, it's not going to be getting all involved in what everybody else says you should do. It's going to be about thinking outside the box and thinking creatively and going with the ideas that have electricity to them. Because it can be as simple. I'm telling you, with Alan, with Kathy, it was not hard. Once we got in the right mindset of how do you get back into that creative mind and be able to generate. So here's the cause of your results. This is so important. And at first, I know, because when I first saw this chart, I was like, no, that's not how results occur. But I promise you, I've worked this chart inside and out, and this is what it is. And I'm going to describe it to you. You are thinking thoughts all day long. And those thoughts are actually what are generating your feelings. I know that these days feelings can feel like real, like sexy, like, oh, they just happened to me. I had a feeling, I got inspired. But the truth is that all feelings stem from thinking. Not all thinking is conscious. When I talked about the subconscious mind, your subconscious mind, the parts that you're not aware of, in this moment, your subconscious is processing a football field's worth of information. Whereas your conscious mind, what you're aware of is only processing about the tip of a pin. But you are thinking right now, and your subconscious mind is working, and that's what's producing feelings. So think about it. In the story about the barbershop, the dad keeps saying, I can't compete with $6 haircuts and our business is going down. And that creates a feeling. Frustration, anxiousness. You might be hearing that around your office or wherever you are now. Oh, the market's taking a downturn and the gas price is so high and nobody's buying houses and my house has been sitting on the market for 60 days. All that you can feel in that moment is fear with that kind of thinking. So just scientifically, feelings are a physiologic response to what you're processing. And so your brain is sitting in this fluid that travels up and down your spine. And when you think worry, anxious thoughts, all your body can do is produce a worry, anxious feeling. And that feeling is what's going to produce action or inaction. As the dad thinks, there's no way I can keep this barbershop open. There's no way I can compete with $6 haircuts. He starts to feel scared and frustrated. And the only action he can think of is close the shop. When I first started my business, there was a part of me that wanted to think, okay, who's going to get coached by a broke divorced school teacher living in their parents' basement? I mean, that's dumb. And that creates a feeling. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I can't do it. And that's going to create an action. So if you're sitting around thinking, this is going to be a really tough market. I told you about the client I was working with yesterday, Brian, and he said, it's really challenging in real estate right now. And he kept saying that. And that was producing a feeling of fear and anxiousness and worry. Now, if he does take action on his business from that state, he's going to sound salesy. He's going to sound weird. He's going to maybe not go as bold as he normally would, because that's the only thing that feeling can produce. But when we get into, let's think about this. If most agents, if most companies right now are feeling fearful and they start to pull back on their marketing and they start to pull back on what they're doing and they start to pull back on their lead generation. And I'm the one that's willing to think, what if there's an opportunity here? What would happen then? Now, with that thought, you start to feel a little pumped up. You're like, oh yeah, most people's instinct is going to be to constrict. What if I was the one who decided to expand? And that leads to a very different feeling in action. So I know for sure that most people think common hour thinking, as Thoreau would have called it. They look at circumstances to tell them what they can do or not do. And if most people are thinking like that, all of you right here, right now, in this moment, have a huge opportunity in your industry to be the one who's still out there marketing, to be the one who's still going after it, to realize people die, people have babies, people move, people change jobs. There's still a market. To realize that as costs go down, it lets more people in. As costs go down, you can start getting interested in helping people invest. And that is going to lead to a very different result than the person who says, oh, this is so challenging. This is a down market. It's not going to work for me. We have been trained, most of us, unless you were brought up by like a priest or a philosopher, but most of us have been trained to blame our results on what I call becauses. Because the economy's down, that's why my business isn't growing. Because COVID, that's why I couldn't hold open houses. Because my husband won't let me invest in the things I want to invest in, that's why. And it's common. All of us do that and have done that. But if you really get logical about it, if it really was just the because of COVID, because of the economy, then every real estate agent in a down economy would have the same result. If it really was just the circumstance, everybody would have a terrible result. But you can see that that's just not true. Alan takes his business from 43 million to 70 million when he couldn't even hold an open house. How does that happen? It cannot just be the circumstance. Now, it's not that the circumstance that's going on right now isn't going to influence what you're thinking. You see something on the news, you're going to think something about it, but what you think about it is up to you. And that's going to determine your result. So let's play a game. All right. I want you to look around your room, and I'm going to give you 15 seconds to look in the room you're in and find everything you can that's yellow. Okay, ready? Go. Find everything yellow. Memorize everything yellow in your room. All right, now close your eyes. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're with me here, just sitting, close your eyes. And now, with your eyes closed, remember everything red in your room. I didn't close my eyes. I see Jody. I got Jody to laugh. Yeah. Why was it so hard to remember everything red? Because you were focused on everything yellow. And I know that that seems silly, but the more you focus on what's challenging, what's hard, the problems, what everybody else is saying, the more you're going to see everything that looks like that. So that's a good one for us to remember. All right. So one more case study. This one's such a good story. I hope that this just knocks your socks off. So this is Stephanie Sills. I had the privilege of, and all of these agents have let me share their story. So if you see them around, you can share. But Stephanie and I started working together in 2019 when she very first got her real estate license. And she had done a couple transactions, and she said, I want to get coaching because I don't want to struggle my first year. I just want to be like off and running. And we were able to do 20 transactions that first year. But with Stephanie, she kind of got into that paradigm of, I have to be working so hard for everything I get. So when we first started working together, two main thinking patterns that I wanted to help her transform. One was she didn't feel worthy. She felt like she constantly had to prove herself. She grew up super poor. She was adopted. She had all these things where she just didn't feel good enough or worthy of good things. So that was one. And a lot of my female clients have that, but a lot of my male clients also have that. They just don't admit it as loudly publicly. And so that was that. And then the other thing that she felt like is she had been in the tech world. So she felt like she had to work so hard every single day for everything she got. Last year, she had got her first $3 million listing. And she was so excited. And it was right on the water in Northern California. And that property was a little unique. Like it had like a little water closet in the front walk-in because the guy who owned it was a surfer. Like it was a little weird, but it was beautiful. It was right on the water. It was going for 3 million, and it sat there and it sat there and it didn't sell. It didn't sell, no offers and all this. So Stephanie's solution is more, and I'm just going to work myself to death. But she had been working, I think it was something crazy, 14 days straight or something. And what she was longing for, going back to the balance, was a day off. That's all she wanted. It wasn't a luxurious longing, just a day off. But she kept telling herself, I have to hold this house open. And I just said, Stephanie, longing and discontent, soul instructions, go to the beach, take your daughters to the beach. What if, and this is what I want all of you to hear today, what if while you're on the beach, the house sells? Instead of partnering with, I have to facilitate everyone and work so hard, what if you partnered with, while I'm on the beach, something's going to come in, something's going to move? Crazy thing happened. She's on the beach with her little girls, and she gets a call from a couple that happened to be riding their bike by the property. And they said, can you show it to us? And she said, I'm at the beach. I was so proud of her for this. She said, I'm at the beach with my kids. Would you be willing, in an hour or two, I can meet you there, but I'm going to be in my flip-flops and my bathing suit. And they said yes. And they wrote an offer that very day. So not partnering with all these things you've been told about how results occur. Start pouring yourself into the possibility that what if the more balanced I get, the more easy it is to navigate all of this instead of stressing myself out about it. So I want to give you my favorite tool for navigating a tough circumstance. My favorite tool for navigating any tough circumstance. This could be for, you get a bill you weren't expecting, or you thought you were going to have a buyer for that property and it falls through, whatever it is. The tool is nothing is bad unless you say it's bad. And part of this is, I know part of me too wants to roll my eyes. Like, there are bad things. Murder's bad. Car wrecks are bad. War in Ukraine is bad. And everything is neutral to our perception of it. So as you're thinking, perhaps the thing that you feel is bad right now is the market. This is how you do the tool. 3 steps. The first thing you do is you put the panic, that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of panic, on pause for 3 days. You actually have an internal pause button. I know sometimes it's like, where is that button? But you do have it. And you just make an appointment with panic for 3 days from now. You're reserving the right to panic. If it doesn't resolve in 3 days, you can panic. So today's Thursday. On Sunday, I'll panic. And
hey, Lauren,
yeah.
Lauren, excuse me. I don't know if you take questions, so I hope I'm not
sure.
being rude.
Yeah, no, come on in.
Will you say that thing again? Everything is neutral except what?
Everything is neutral to your perception.
That was it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And the reason I know everything is neutral to perception is sometimes I'll have a friend that's freaking out about something and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, that's no big deal. Everything's neutral to the lens that we put on it. So we put the panic on pause for 3 days. And then in the interim, your job is to list every possible good thing that can come of what seems bad. We're not saying it's going to be good. We're just saying possibly could it be good? So if you look at a market downturn, a lot of other agents are going to poop out during this. So maybe I can set myself ahead. A lot of other people are going to be constricting. Maybe that'll be good for me. Maybe all investments will go up. Maybe I'll find some passion for some other niche during this time. And you just start listing out everything that could possibly be good that can come of this. And during that time, panic is going to try to rise. Fear is going to try to rise. And you say, no, I have an appointment with you on Sunday. You say that to the panic. No, I have an appointment with you on Sunday, or whatever 3 days away is. And then I'm living into the good. And that good is this list and my vision for 3 days. That's it. Do this with any circumstance you're facing and everything will start to change for you. Because as you're living into that possible good, you'll start taking different action and it'll truly influence your results. So I have 2 more things for you, and then I'm going to bring this in for a landing and I'll stick around for questions. Important. There was a fisherman, older gentleman fishing, and he was catching lots of fish. I mean, like master fishermen. And there was this younger kid a little downstream from him, and he's noticing this older man catching all these fish. And he thinks, well, I want to learn how to do that. I'm struggling over here. And so he decides he's going to ask this guy how he catches so much fish. But as he gets closer to the gentleman, he notices that this guy throws back most of the fish that he catches. And the kid gets curious about this. Like, why would you want to throw back all that good fish? So he goes up to the guy and he asks him, he says, I'm really admiring what a good fisherman you are, but I'm also curious why you're throwing so many fish back. The old guy says, I got this broken off ruler. And this broken off ruler, I measure against every fish I catch. And if the fish is bigger than the broken off ruler, I throw it back in the river. And the young kid's like, so are the smaller fish more flavorful, or is there like an ordinance against catching bigger fish? And the old guy says, no, it's just that this broken off ruler is the size of the frying pan I have at home. So if the fish is bigger than the frying pan, I throw it back in the river. We laugh. I mean, it's a silly joke, but we laugh. Like, that's so dumb. But the truth is, it's not funny. It's not funny because it is actually your story and my story. All of us get handed big ideas all the time. You could do this, you could advertise more, you could do that, all of us are getting these great ideas. And we take the idea. Maybe you caught a good idea today. You heard something I said and you thought, yeah. But what's going to happen is you will, if you're not careful, you'll measure it against your internal frying pan and against the fear you're feeling, and you'll throw that great idea back into the stream of life, not even noticing that you're doing it because you're not even noticing that you keep measuring yourself up against circumstance. I love that story because I do not want you to be that fisherman. You have a beautiful vision. It's in its infancy right now. If I had more time, I could tell you all the intricacies of writing a powerful vision. And that's why I created the gift that I'm going to share with you. But your vision is beautiful and it's a good idea. And it would put you far out ahead of lots of other people. And then you could turn back and bring them along with you if you were really living that vision. And we don't want it to go back into the stream of life. I know that you didn't come here because you wanted to be entertained by me for an hour. And I don't want to be an entertainer. I want you to take this and really live into it with all the tools and all the things we talked about. But what I know is even when we have the best of intentions, we get busy and we think, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to review my notes. And then off we go with life and the same results happen. So that's why I created the gift I want to give to you, which I'll share with you and I'll go into questions. The gift that I want to give to you is because I have been doing this long enough now, 4.5 years of workshops just like this. And I'll talk to someone who was at a workshop a year ago or 2 years ago, and they'll say, oh, that was really inspiring, but I didn't change. Or I had every intention of, and then I just got busy. And so what I want to do is give you a gift that is free, no strings attached, completely free. That's going to give you something so that this doesn't just get put in a drawer and forgotten about. And so the gift is a completely free 1 hour session with one of us on the Soul Savvy team. We're all amazing, completely loving, helpful coaches so that you can work on your vision and you can work on the challenges and you can work on the thing you're facing one-to-one. It's hard to do it in a group, but one-to-one, we can focus on you and your vision and what you want to create. Now, why do we do this? One, I don't want you to shove it in a drawer, and I've watched it happen too many times and it's frustrating, but also because I want to give you the opportunity to get more mentorship. Now, if you're thinking, Lauren, I'd love to get mentorship from you. I'd love to be your mentor, but I think you should take the free thing first to make sure that we're a good fit. For those of you who aren't interested in mentorship, we do this because we don't want you to go back into the same pattern. And you don't have to hear anything about our coaching services. You can just take this hour for you and then move it forward in whatever way you want to move it forward. So if that's you, if you're the person who wants to grab the opportunity, wants to really have a clear vision, wants to know what a balanced life looks like for you personally, this is what you're going to do. You're going to text with your phone. So get out your texting app and you're going to just type in, hi, this is, and give us your first name and your last name so that we know who we're talking to. Hi, this is, Sandy Smith, and I would love a breakthrough session. And you're going to text it to this number, 650-271-0453. I have asked my team to set aside this whole next week to support you. And if we get more, because I know there's like 200 something people registered for this and they'll be watching replays. If we get more requests than we have sessions, we promise we'll serve you. We promise we'll do it for all of you. But just know that this is not a robot text. This is Gina. She's a real person. That's her phone number. She's sitting on the other end waiting to help you schedule your sessions. So all you have to do is text to 650-271-0453, and we'll help you craft your vision and what you want to do moving forward in this market and beyond. So the final thing that I will say before I take questions is this. Socrates, the philosopher, was sitting in Greece. Mount Olympus is a real place, but a lot of you know it from Greek mythology, where the gods of love and the gods of war and the gods of creation lived on Mount Olympus. So Socrates is sitting on the street in Greece and he says, he's sitting there, I don't know, drinking coffee or whatever he's doing in those days. And this young man walks by and he says, you're Socrates. I have a question for you. How do I get to Mount Olympus? And Socrates says, just make every step you take in that direction. You have a Mount Olympus of your own life, something you want to create or grow into. So just make every step you take in that direction. And if you'd like us to help you with that, we're happy to help you. This is our number. Yeah, let me type it in the chat because I see some of you are looking for it. Sorry about that. Going fast here. Here it is. Yep. Thank you, Brooke. That's Gina's number, and she'll be happy to take care of you and get your session scheduled. And we really like to be personal at Soul Savvy. That's why we don't have a lot of like the robo things. All right. So I hope you got so much out of this. We'll have a replay for you so you can watch it again if there's anything you missed. And while we're here together, I'm happy to stick around and ask questions for anybody, anything that you're pondering, anything you want to know. I would be happy to help. So you can just raise your Zoom hand or you can just unmute yourself.
Hey, Lauren, I have something. This is Stephanie.
Yeah.
And I just texted Gina. Yay.
Oh, good. Yay.
Something I've been struggling with. And I mean, I feel I'm speaking a lot of your language because here is my vision board. I've manifested a lot of really incredible things. But as of late, I'm a dog lover. I have 3 dogs and one of them's almost 15. And she's struggling with some health issues. And earlier you talked about, you know, this wasn't your words, but our perception is our reality. And I struggled with trying to find what is going to be the positive outcome. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I have 3 dogs and I know we all are going to go one day. And if I could think of maybe one thing is it would maybe be easier to just care for the 2, but it's almost hard to even say that out loud because if I could keep her forever, I would do it. So
totally. Oh my gosh. Yes.
You know, on those tougher things in life that we
Yep.
struggle with, or my best friend losing her daughter. We just had the 5-year anniversary. She was 13 and struggling to figure out, you know, what was the positive of Kimber leaving this earth. So things like that I struggle with.
Totally. And I understand that fully, which is why the first time I heard that tool, I like rolled my eyes like, no, this is not, nothing is bad unless you say it's bad. So for the harder things, losing a pet, losing a spouse or a kid or anything like that, we are not saying the thing itself is good. We are not saying the thing itself is good. We're saying, what is a possible good that can come in my life and the life of others because of this experience? So that's one way to hold it. So like, I'll give you an example of this. I lost my cat. His name was Big at the end of 2019. And I was working with my own coach. And I said to her, you're always telling me, you know, nothing's bad unless you say it's bad and blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing good about a 7-year-old cat getting cancer and dying.
Sweet thing. Yes.
Yeah. And so she said back to me, of course, at the level of human fact, there isn't it, grieve it. Don't try to go right to the possible good on something like that. But then she said, as you think about this, start to notice, is there something about this experience that I can use to help others? Or is there something about this experience I can learn from? Just not right away, but just start with it. And I'll never forget, I was crying. I had just moved into a new house when I lived in California. And I was literally like ugly cry face, like sitting on the floor crying.
Yes.
And I had this thought. And the thought was this particular cat, Big, was from the time he was a kitten, the grumpiest curmudgeon of all cats. And I thought to myself, okay, what if he's happy to go? What if the rainbow bridge, the spirit world, whatever's over on the other side, what if that's much more pleasant for him?
Yeah.
And then I just started to think, and he wouldn't have wanted to move into this new house. He was comfy and he wasn't feeling well. And all of a sudden I started to think, that's what that tool's meant to do for the harder stuff.
Yes. That's really, that's helpful. And I think I sound like a crazy pet lady, but I had guinea pigs in the past. One of them was Kimber's. And, you know, when he passed, it helped me to actually love the rest of my pets a little bit more. So
yes,
that's a great way to think about it. And I don't believe that this is the end. I think this is the party and there's a great after party, but we miss, you know, we're going to miss them. So thank you, Lauren.
You're very welcome. And I'll just say this about the tough stuff in life is this is the hard part about being a human on planet Earth is this is a universe of contrast. It's a polar reality. So we only know happy because we know sad. We only know alive because we know dead. That's really the only reason that we know is the polarity. And so a lot of times we want to resist the polarity of life when the truth is the only reason we can grieve is because we can love. I only can grieve someone that I've loved that much. So it's good ultimately.
Thank you so much.
You're
I look
welcome.
forward to working with you today.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Anyone else that I can support today or questions I can ask? It'd be about anything that I can help you with. Right. Well, let me see if there's anything in the chat. Yeah, Christina, I'm going to send out a recording so that you can watch it. It's going to be it'll stay on the Soul Savvy Core Fact site and you'll be able to watch it.
We're also going to add it to our Core Fact YouTube channel as well. So you'll be able to catch it there as well.
Yay.
I have a quick question for the
Yes.
meeting. Is there something, or how do we get ready for that?
to get ready for
the meeting that if we set up with
Oh,
or
the great news. Yeah. The great news is you really don't have to do anything to prepare, because we're going to ask you questions about, you know, anything that you're longing for, anything that you think you want to create, and we'll help you craft a vision that's really going to motivate you, and we'll answer questions and help you with action steps. So really you just have to show up like open to doing that. And you don't have to do anything else to prepare.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally chill.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mary. I have a question in the chat that I'd love to answer. So someone asked, I want to be able to focus and feel that fire and passion. And I want to stay with my company. And I just need something to help me hit the reset and have a plan in place. But there's a person that she feels like sometimes she doesn't get along with. Need to change my mindset, and I want to be happy. Yeah. So I would highly recommend, especially because, you know, you probably don't want me to share your name or the whole details of your question here. I would highly recommend just booking the free session, because we can help you with that in particular. And sometimes Wayne Dyer famously said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so it might be a mindset thing. It might be you have to have a sweaty conversation with this person. It might be that you're giving too much power away. And so if you're not feeling passion because a person is doing something, then it might be to build some internal strength around that and build up a willingness. So without, you know, really publicly talking about it, I think it would be better for you to have a private, so we can see, is it mindset? Is it really just the fear of making a move to somewhere else? It could be a variety of things in that case. Yeah. Anything else before we go? All right. Well, thank you so much, Brooke. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and for everyone who signed on. We appreciate you guys attending. So great session. Thank you so much.
All right.
It was so great. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.